This is the Investor Connect podcast program. I'm Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of this show in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, family offices, private equity, and many other investors for early stage and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today I'm here with Chris Hugman of System Surveyor. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, Hall. Great to be with you.
Great. So what was your background before joining System Surveyor? What did you do before this?
Yeah, well, before System Surveyor, a long time before, I was in the telecommunications space and was involved in that space when they were going through the deregulation and the competitive and the broadband initiatives and things like that. So I've been out there quite some time, but got involved with telecommunications. And then once the dot-com bubbles hit, if you will, I did a professional pivot into another technology space that would be electronic physical security space. And so there I had my own company, and we grew that company delivering security systems into commercial and government entities here in Texas throughout the state. And then from that business, developed the concept that would then become System Surveyor.
Great. So what led you to start work in the system contracting space? Why did you choose that one?
Well, at the time that I did the pivot, it was that .com, it was one of these situations that we find ourselves in from time to time as an economy that things aren't working out. But it was an industry that I felt was resilient. There was some technology that was coming out at that time, mainly the IP video technology. I was familiar with that technology and it was new to that industry. And so I decided it was probably a good fit for my skill set and my background and my track record as an entrepreneur starting businesses. And so this was one that I could start on my own. And so that's what attracted me to that business. And it was a great way to step out and engage with folks with technology and serve a true need in the physical security space, because if you recall, right around that time also 9/11 had just occurred. And so the need for physical security was even more acute than ever before. So all of those factors kind of led me to that direction.
So what's your advice for people investing in this space? What do you tell them to do before they write that first check?
One of the things that I think I've talked to a number of investors investing in System Surveyor, and great questions. It's great to get to know a lot of different types of investors. And I suppose there's a couple of things that come to mind when you talk about what makes sense. And from my perspective, we talk about product market fit a lot, but really it's a founder market fit. I think the founder market fit is really the key. When you think of some of the global companies, some of the big names, think about the founders of those companies. And I'm speaking about even Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. I mean, he founded this as a college student because he had a need to create a social network, right? So he fit his market. Even if you go onto the business side, Mark Benioff with Salesforce, he was a sales star over at Oracle, and ultimately shot up the ranks and began to lead that organization, and then stepped over to develop a sales management platform. So I think so critical when folks are looking at investments, are the founders a fit for their market? Because there's so many nuances underneath the cover of a market that only an insider can get to. And so I think that's one of them. And a couple other thoughts with respect to that are optionality, of making sure the company has a couple of other options, or when plan A maybe doesn't go quite as well as it could, or maybe it does go well. What's plan B? How do they add on to that? So I think optionality is absolutely a big part in them. Then, of course, finally, what value is being delivered to the customer, and especially the customer's customer. And that's, I think, so those three things kind of jump out to me as some of the key elements to what might make a good investment.
Great. So how is this, let's talk about the state of investing in the system contracting space. How do you see the industry evolving, and what kind of growth rate are you seeing on the sector today?
The sector that we're in, the electronic physical security sector, of course, we're software. We're a software as a service company that sells into that sector. So we are not the company that takes technology and delivers it to the market. Our customers are the ones that do that. And so that market has been very, very stable. It's growing at a 5 to 10% rate over the last, seems like 30 years. Even through the ups and downs, it's been very, very stable and steady. And now, the interesting thing within that market is the Internet of Things, the evolution of the Internet of Things and the proliferation of those devices that are now all within every corner of a facility make the business that much more challenging for these companies that are delivering service. On one hand, they have to keep up with the latest technology. On the other hand, they have to continue to service everything that went before. And so those are some of the challenges that we see. And there's some great opportunities for some very innovative companies because, of course, the appetite for technology just seems to be getting greater and greater.
Well, as we move into using more remote work and distributed employees and so forth, how does that impact your business?
Well, Hall, we have from the beginning talked about the importance of collaboration and remote collaboration. And our platform facilitates that. You can have two users looking at the same screen using a Zoom call or using a GoToMeeting or other technology, Skype, and begin to collaborate on that, and they can work actively on that. And it's really a drawing tool for non-engineers, non-technical people. And so that really facilitates the collaboration. We've had a lot of folks, given the COVID crisis that's come on recently and the work at home, a lot of folks have reached out to us and say, how can you help us equip our folks with the tools that they need to do their jobs, even without being on site with the customer? And it's not an easy task, but those are the types of things that we feel like we can offer as to get through this time. And I think it will help in the long term. We'll see a lot of folks adopt some processes and techniques like that will ultimately provide benefits for years to come, well beyond the horizon of this crisis.
Great. Can you talk more about exactly what System Surveyor does and how it fits into the system contracting landscape?
System Surveyor, it really facilitates the system contractors. Those are the electronic security companies and audiovisual companies, and those people that take those products and they go and install them for customers. We like to say that we help technology professionals deliver on the promise of technology. We do that by having a digital floor plan. We bring a floor plan into our platform, which can be a web interface, or it could be an iPad or an Android tablet. And then the users can be on site and they can easily drag and drop where they'd like to place a device, such as a security camera or perhaps a speaker or some other device that they're designing for this facility, building automation or smart homes, those types of things where devices are scattered all over a building. You can represent that on a floor plan. And once you do that, you can capture the information right there, snap some photos, gather some other information, and upload it to the cloud. So now that information is shared with your technical folks maybe back at the home office. They can put an estimate together or they can see the types of information you have. We also have a number of large companies that use our platform. They have 300 sites across the globe, and they need to manage their security assets. For example, where are the security cameras and what doors are they watching? And so now they can gather all that information into a common platform that's easy to access, it's easy to use, you can use the collaboration. So those are the two ways that we fit into the security space. Really a workflow tool, help folks become much more efficient and engage on a common platform so people can actually see the system that maybe they're buying or that they're working on. So that's the large part. It's the information management underlying all of these system elements.
You talk about one or two customer applications in which they're using your solution and how it works for them.
Sure, absolutely. We have the interesting that you asked that because we recently did a webinar in the context of the COVID-19 work at home. And Konica Minolta has adopted our platform and actually began using it in just that way. And so we had a recent webinar where we featured how Konica Minolta is using that. They have a small engineering team that supports 1,000 or so salespeople out in the market. And the way they are doing that is collaborating on our platform by showing where the cameras are going and that sort of thing. So that's one way. We have other customers such as banks, for example, that I won't mention the name, but they have 50 sites across the southeastern U.S., and they need to manage their security on each one of these sites. And so this is a corporate security group that now they can use that platform to manage each one of these sites. The local facility, the local branch manager knows what their security posture is. They know the physical security about where cameras are placed and how, and they can interact intelligently about that. And then on the corporate side, the corporate security folks can see on a more global basis what their posture looks like on a corporate basis. So those are the two primary use cases that we see. And of course, I could tell you many more.
So what's the next step for System Surveyor? What new products or new applications are you going to pursue?
So we are very focused on delivering value to our clients. It's that simple. And of course, there's a lot underneath that. And a big part of that is delivering a great user experience, and not just for our users, but as I mentioned earlier, for their customers. And so it's very important that what we deliver to our customers helps their business get better. And so we're very focused on that, making it an easy to use platform. At the same time, building in some utility that delivers greater and greater and greater value. For instance, we're working now to connect the technology side, those folks that are producing technology, those new Internet of Things. We're working to place their products in our platform so the system integrators and these end-using customers can then use that information within our platform. So it helps them specify in the products they need and the technology that they're looking for to make sure they're getting the right fit. And so we can bring those two things together and really accelerate and provide a better experience all the way across the board.
Very good. In the last few minutes that we have here, what else should we cover that we haven't?
The one thing that I would mention is a lot of times the system contractor business, and there's other industrial businesses that look a little bit old school, but there is a lot of room for innovation within those businesses. And electronic physical security is just one example of that. And so I think as investors are looking for that sexy business, there's a lot of opportunity in maybe some industries that have been overlooked. And those founders that have been in the trenches for a while, that have come up with a unique idea and concept that understand that very well, those are some great areas to consider when you're out looking how you can put some money to work and get a great return.
That's good advice. And so how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
Sure. I would welcome an email. It's probably the easiest way to get to me, and Hugman at systemsurveyor.com. Of course, our website we have contact information on our website and all the information about the company there as well.
Great. We'll include those in the show notes. Want to thank you for joining us today and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Hall.
Thank you.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Hall Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for the basis of investment decisions.